Hey, welcome to Mathheadx. Today we're going to go over linear equations with two variables. Alright, so in a previous video we went over linear equations with a single variable, but today we're looking at two. And the way that we're going to be approaching this is a bit differently than the other, where we would only isolate x. In this case, we're still looking at that, but we're going to figure out a couple things here. So in order to find this, you got to understand that when x is equal to something, y is equal to something. Not all the time are they going to be equal to the same value. It's pretty rare. In this case, one thing that we can do is we can find out what x or y is by letting the other variable equal 0. So if we let y equal to 0, then what does it do? Well, that would give us 2 multiplied by 0, and it would completely eliminate the exponent, and it would isolate the x right off the bat. So then we're able to find the initial value of x for when y is equal to 0. And then we could do the same thing. And then from there, we could just plug these in, make sure that it's true, and we can find the actual value of what x is and y is. So let's give that a shot. So when y is equal to 0, that's 2 times 0 is 0, which leaves us with 4x and is equal to 6. Let's separate that with a scuffed line. So what do we do now? Well, the same thing as before. We will divide that 4 from the 4x on both sides, since they are equal to each other. And then these 4's cancel out. And this we can actually simplify. When we see 6 over 4, I see two things that can be divided by 2. So this 6 and 2, this is 3. This is the same thing as saying 3 over 2. I said 2, but I meant 4. You get it. So we now know that when here, let's write this up here. So when y is equal to 0, x is equal to 3 halves, or 3 divided by 2, or 1.5, or 1.5, so on and so forth. Whatever makes you feel more comfortable writing. I like 3 over 2. So that can also be expressed as a point on the graph, 3 halves, comma, 0, in parentheses. This is how we would express a point on a graph. And we're going to be looking at this two-dimensionally, because we have two variables. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. So we found what x is when y is equal to 0. Now we need to find what y is when x is equal to 0. So I'm going to erase all of this. Alright, now this is all erased, we can look at this here, and we want to isolate this y. So in order to do that, we're going to let x equal 0, which gives us 4 times 0 is equal, 4 times 0 plus 2y is equal to 6. Well, 4 times 0 is just 0, so, or, hold on, I bought this specifically for this reason, and I am failing. And then we're left with 2y is equal to 6, right? This is no more, this is gone. We're looking at 2y is equal to 6. We can simply just divide by 2. Did it that time. Now 6 divided by 2, as you all should know by now, would be 3. There. My first whole number solution from all my videos. Everything has just been fractions. All right. So now we know that when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 3. So we'll express that as 0, comma 3. Now, we just need to graph this. And we'll see what this line will look like. What is this tangent line telling us? And we'll go over more and how to find slopes within the next video. All right, so, and don't worry, I wrote the original equation up here, and we still left these 2 points. So we just got to leave some markers. You're never going to get a perfect graph unless you're using a computer or you have like godly art skills, which obviously I possess. You'll catch up. All right. So, we have 3 halves, 0. So, that's also can be expressed as 1 1/2. So we have 1 unit, and then half a unit between 1 and 2. So this point would be expressed like so. How well does the blue show up? All right, so we have that point there, and then we have 0, 3, this point here. Perfect. So we have a downward slope between these two. Hopefully I don't screw this up. I feel like that should be good. There we go. And this can be... Now, we wouldn't want to really leave it in this form. But for now, it's good enough. Because in my next video, I'll be going over how to rewrite this in the tangent line form of y is equal to mx plus b, and how to find m, which we'll see soon. All right, we're going to move on to our next example. All right, we're going to move on to our next example. So we're going to continue this now. We went from 2x plus 5y minus 10 is equal to 0. And we're going to let x equal to 0 to find the y value. So here we now have 5y minus 10 is equal to 0. And note that what happened to this x? Well, we substitute x was 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Anything times 0 will be 0. All right. So now we're going to just add 10 to both sides. And then we're left with, well, these cancel out. And then we're left with 5y is equal to 10, right? And look how beautiful that is. Look how nice and smooth that goes through. Those 5's cancel, divide by 5 on this side, and we are left with y is equal to 2 when x is equal to 0. Also can be expressed as the point 0, 2, which we are going to be expressing it as that. All right, now we can find out what x is when y is equal to 0. Here, so y is equal to 0, so that is now 0. 5 times 0 is 0, so we're left with 2x minus 10 is equal to 0. So we have 2x minus 10 is equal to 0. We will add 10 on both sides, so those cancel out. To isolate that x, we have now 2x is equal to 10. Then we'll divide by 2 to isolate that x, 2 on both sides. Those 2's now cancel out, and we now have x is equal to 10 over 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So x is equal to 5 when y when y is equal to 0 and can be expressed as 5, 0. So now let's just graph this with these 2 points and we'll see what this tangent line looks like. Alright, so now that we have the board ready to go, let's look at what we have here. So we have 5, 0, and recall that this is our x and this is our y. This is our x and this is our y. So here we have x is equal to 5 and y 0, so we're going to move, this is our x axis, this is our y axis, so we're going to go over 5 units. And it's okay if they're not perfect, no one's perfect. Just make sure that you indicate these points. So maybe you can do 1 here and up to 5, or count them all out as whatever your professor or teacher requests that you do, or whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever helps you do the best work that you can do. So then we have 0, 2. So when x is 0, y is 2. So we're at 0 and we move up 2 units. 1, 2. Not the best accuracy, but that's totally fine. So now we have a point here and a point here, and we're just going to draw a line between these points, a perfectly straight line. So let's see here. Okay. So we have perfectly straight, totally not scuffed line going through these 2 points. And this line can be expressed as 2x plus 5y minus 10 is equal to 0. And that's pretty much how you do this. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll move on to the next video.